A blast of light sliced through the darkness, brilliant enough to blind even the reinforced ocular lenses of the diplomats seated in the grand chamber. For just a moment, silence reigned, thick, expectant, suffocating, before the murmurs began, growing louder with each breath as the alien delegates attempted to make sense of the announcement. The Galactic Concordant, an alliance of starfaring civilizations numbering over 100 species, had existed for over 3,000 years. Wars were rare now. Conflicts were resolved by committees, compromises, and cold negotiations. That was how it had always been, until today. At the center of it all stood a man in a crisply pressed black suit, his features sharp and impassive despite the swirling chaos surrounding him. Ambassador Elias Wren. Humanity's representative, the lone Earth-born diplomat standing among creatures that looked as though they had crawled from fevered dreams or forgotten mythologies. Some were ethereal, flowing forms of bioluminescence, their voices like soft chimes. Others were armored in carapace and claws, or gelatinous masses that shifted and reformed with unsettling ease. And they were all staring at him now. Did he say, war? The voice came from a delegate whose 3 snout faces blinked in eerie synchronization. The translator drones word to life, broadcasting whispers of disbelief in every language represented in the chamber. Elias Wren's face didn't twitch. He stood on the raised dais, a transparent holodisplay of Earth's solar system rotating behind him, as steady as a stone amidst the torrent of alien outrage. "That's exactly what I said," Wren replied calmly, his voice carrying effortlessly through the cavernous room. His tone was neither aggressive nor apologetic. It was factual, as if he were announcing the weather. Humanity will enter the war. At that moment, chaos erupted like a supernova. The assembled delegates rose to their feet, or equivalent appendages, as a cacophony of sounds filled the chamber. Some shouted in alarm, others in anger. Elias let them go on for a moment, his hands clasped behind his back. His aide, Arya Chen, stood to his left, her expression unreadable behind round spectacles. She, too, remained unflappable, though her fingers twitched against the datapad at her side. "They're not going to let this go," she whispered to him in a tone so low only he could hear. "Good," Wren replied under his breath. "Let them squawk. The more noise they make, the less they'll notice what we're really doing." "Which is?" He offered her a wry smile, but didn't answer. Instead, he lifted his voice to address the room again. "I understand your concerns. Believe me, humanity does not take such matters lightly." The volume dipped slightly, though the agitation still rippled through the crowd like static energy. From the far side of the chamber, a voice broke through the noise, deep, resonant, and filled with disdain. "You expect us to believe that your primitive world has anything to offer this war?" The speaker was Lord Bradhack of the Thorn Dominion, an arachnid-like being whose body was a monstrous fusion of flesh and steel. His red glowing eyes narrowed, mandibles clicking with amusement. "The humans think themselves warriors now?" Soft laughter rippled among the other delegates. Even those sympathetic to humanity's past contributions seemed doubtful. The galactic war raging on the fringes of known space had torn through fleets, planets, and alliances alike. Humanity, by comparison, was a minor player in the political theater of the stars, a fledgling species that had only joined the Concordant 2 centuries ago. But Wren didn't flinch. He stepped forward, his polished shoes clicking against the crystalline floor as his steely gaze locked onto Lord Bradhack. "I didn't say we think ourselves warriors, Lord Bradhack. I said we're joining the war. There's a difference." The air seemed to still. A new hush fell over the crowd, unnerving after the previous outbursts. Bradhack's mandibles stopped twitching. The smug expression on his face hardened into something unreadable. "Why now?" a melodic voice called out, belonging to Vinela of the Glassborn Collective, a shimmering figure of liquid light. "Your species has stayed neutral. And neutrality was respected. Are you asking us to believe Earth has suddenly grown noble?" "Not noble," Elias corrected, his expression unchanged. "Practical." He turned to gesture at the holomap behind him. The image shifted, zooming outward to show the edges of the war-torn sectors of the galaxy, highlighting systems with thick clusters of hostile red markers. Let's not pretend this war can be ignored forever. Every cycle, the enemy advances. Your fleets are pushed back. And when the war reaches the core worlds, your precious neutrality will count for nothing. The audience murmured again, uneasy now. Bradhack's posture shifted. You're proposing what? That Earth alone will save the Concordant? Preposterous. Not alone, Ren replied smoothly. But we've decided to commit fully to this cause. You see, he added, his gaze sweeping over the assembly, humans have a unique way of dealing with existential threats. Unlike many of you, who approach conflict through centuries of doctrine and rigid strategy, we adapt. Arya shot him a quick look, subtle but questioning. Tread carefully, it seemed to say. But Ren wasn't backing down now. And what do you hope to gain from this? Came the next challenge, this time from an unseen speaker at the back of the room. Elias folded his arms. Survival, he said plainly. And, in time, peace. Not for Earth alone, but for all of us. Or are you so naive to think that the enemy's hunger ends with you? It was a dangerous rhetorical move, but the doubt was taking root. The delegates' postures shifted. Bradhack's claws flexed against the floor with irritation. He could see it now, the seed of curiosity buried beneath layers of pride and skepticism. Your kind won't last a month on the front lines, Bradhack scoffed. Ren smiled, slow and unbothered. Care to bet on that? The chamber fell into stunned silence again. Bradhack, despite his domineering presence, seemed to falter just for a moment, unsure how to respond. Finally, he chittered lowly and looked away, waving one of his claws dismissively. Arrogant primates, he muttered, though there was a begrudging respect in his tone. Ren pretended not to hear it. Arya tapped her datapad, sending a discreet ping to Ren's earpiece. They're about to call a recess, she murmured. And security's going to be watching us like hawks. Let them watch, Elias replied under his breath. The real work starts now. As predicted, the chamber doors swung open as the Concordant speaker announced a recess. Delegates filed out in a mix of frustration, suspicion, and intrigue. Ren exhaled slowly, loosening his tie just a little as Arya stepped closer. Do you think they bought it? She asked quietly. Ren's gaze flicked across the room. Bradhack was muttering to his aides. Vinila hovered nearby, inscrutable as always. Others were already contacting their homeworlds, no doubt to confirm humanity's intent. He offered Arya a small, grim smile. Not yet, he said. But they will. Thanks for watching.